Hey guys, Chris here. Today we have a story from a hunter in Alberta, Canada, along the Rocky Mountains. And there, late at night, he has a face-to-face encounter with something extremely frightening. Also, we have viewer comments from you guys that are really interesting and scary. That's next. Okay guys, I am in the Northern Sierra in a very deep woods here. I got a beautiful little stream next to me. I don't even know the name of it. And it's a little spooky in here. It's midday, it's like 2:30, 3 in the afternoon. But it's really dark in here and quiet. And I'm hearing birds and some things around me and some noises and stuff. It's interesting. But for today's beer, we have a hazy bear hug by the Goose Island Beer Company, and that is a hazy IPA with a chill bear on it. And that chill bear just came out of the chill creek here, so that is how we got a chilled beer. And it is not exploding on me today, so that's a good thing. Yeah, lots of ferns around here, and you hear the birds making noises and stuff. It's a little, a little unnerving today. There we go. Hazy IPA. Cheers. I'm gonna go with the can. That has definitely got the hazy IPA thing going on. Very, very tasty. Bear hug. Okay, so this story comes to us from one of our viewers. His name is Anton. He goes by the name Tony, and Tony is from Bosnia originally. Currently lives up in Alberta, Canada, and in 2017, he went hunting with a couple of his friends, Mario and Marinko, and they went to Western Alberta in between the towns of Nordegg and Rocky Mountain House. Mountain House meals, interesting. And this is just east of the Rocky Mountains and just east of Banff and Jasper National Park up there. Great national parks, beautiful country. I've actually been up there. Amazing wild country. It's grizzly bear country up there as well. They go hunting for the afternoon in the foothills of the Rockies. Okay day, Tony actually shoots a small deer. It's a 2x2, which from what I know is 2 antlers, 2 horns, and then 2 spikes on each horn, 2x2. They're happy, at least they got something for the day. Bring it back to their camp, start dressing it out, and then make a campfire, get some dinner going, have a few beers, enjoying each other's company, just kind of hanging out around the campfire. And then Marinko says, "Hey guys, did you hear that?" And he had heard some branches breaking and something not too far into the forest. And they both looked at each other, Tony and Mario, and they said, "No, we didn't hear anything. I'm not sure what you're afraid of, but we didn't hear anything." So go back to the campfire, enjoying themselves, hanging out, they're talking. And then Marinko again says, "You guys, did you hear that? There's definitely something out there." And then this time, they laughed at him. They said, "What are you afraid of? We didn't hear anything," and they totally dismissed him. Don't do that to people. We've heard enough stories. Never dismiss people. Again, they go back to the campfire, hanging out. A third time, he says, "Okay, I definitely heard something out there." And they said, "Okay." So Mario and Tony get the hunting rifles and a good flashlight, and they get up and they go into the darkness, into the forest, and go around with the light, just shining the light into the darkness. They don't hear anything, they don't see anything. They go about 100 yards out there, kind of going back and forth, kind of sweeping the forest. Still, they don't hear or see anything. And they feel confident. They got their hunting rifles. Should be okay. You know, they know how to handle themselves. They come back into camp, tell Marinko, we didn't see anything, we didn't hear anything. We should be okay, dude. It's okay. So they go back to their campfire. So it was getting late, about 11:30 at night. They didn't have tents set up, but they decided they were going to sleep in their vehicles. So Mario had a Toyota SUV. He's going to sleep in the back of that. And Marinko and Tony were going to sleep in his Jeep Grand Cherokee. And they were kind of tightly packed in between the trees, bumper to bumper, in the forest. So Tony's in the Jeep Grand Cherokee, laying next to Marinko. And above him is a sunroof in the Jeep. He looks out before he falls asleep, and he can see the Star Vega. That's what he told me. Also, the Coleman lantern, they turned it down a little bit, but they left it on the picnic table. Apparently they needed a little extra light while they're getting organized or something. I don't know. I don't normally leave lanterns on. I don't trust them. He falls asleep, and then he's awoken by movement of the Jeep. The Jeep kind of rocks, like someone lightly shoved the Jeep. And he wakes up, and he's looking out the sunroof, and he sees that the Star Vega has now moved. And so some time went by. So he checks his phone. It's 2:30 in the morning. And he's laying there, and just a moment later, he feels this vulnerability, like he's being watched. And it's really weird because he's inside of a vehicle, inside of a Jeep, laying down. You know, you got the doors above you, and he feels like he's being watched. So Tony's laying there, and he's feeling some vulnerability, and a little bit of fear set in, and he slowly turns his head to the left. And there he sees this huge silhouette, just a few feet away, just outside the window of the Jeep, staring at him. Hairy silhouette. And at first he thought, this is somebody came into the campsite to scare them. And then he thought, this is a renegade person that came out of the forest, like a feral person that came out of the forest and was checking them out. He didn't know what he was looking at. This thing was 7 to 8 feet tall and had a protruding brow on its forehead, these dark eyes, a wide mouth, and this square chin. It resembled a Pithecanthropus, which is the ancient Java man, essentially a caveman. It wasn't ape, it wasn't human. He actually made a drawing of this from his memory. This thing was 7 to 8 feet tall, standing there staring right down at both of them, looking back and forth. And it didn't have aggression, but it had what Tony described as curiosity. It's like this curious monster staring at him. And so it put this fear into him, and he could feel the back of his neck, the hair come straight up. Scared the crap out of him. Right then he nudged Marinko to wake him up so he could see this and not be alone. Marinko mumbled something and fell back asleep. Tony remembered he had his rifle next to him on the left side, and he had some bullets in a box down by the tailgate by his feet. He grabbed the rifle, pulled it around. It's the only thing he could think of. And right then, this feral, cave-dwelling, ape, human, whatever this thing was, it turned and it walked towards the forest. And he could see it in the lantern light that was still going on. And he walked right past the deer that they dressed out earlier that was hanging in the tree. Disappeared into the forest. So he wakes up at 6:15 the next morning. Right away he tells his two friends what he experienced the night before. They didn't experience it. They were sound asleep. This thing didn't make a lot of noise. It didn't come in, disrupt everything and everybody. It just stared at them, and he happened to be wide awake. Really scary, though, to be laying there and so vulnerable and then have this 7-8 foot tall thing staring at you 2:30 in the morning. His friend Mario said, well, why didn't you take your rifle and just shoot him, like through the window? And he thought, number one, I don't want the bullet to go astray and cause damage somewhere else. I've been trained not to do that. And number two, the sound would have been so deafening to shoot a 30-06 inside of a vehicle. You don't do that. And so he didn't feel threatened enough to do that at that moment. I mean, it could have changed in a heartbeat. Tony also mentioned that he's found footprints in that area, in the mud, up near these oil rigs. Apparently there's some oil rigs up in Alberta, and they were huge footprints. Also in the snow, they found a series of footprints, and they were really far apart, 4 or 5 feet apart between steps in like a single line in the snow. And he took him several steps to get in between each one to match it. And he couldn't just do from one to the next. Really crazy when you find that in the snow. And you know it's not going to last very long as well. But that is our story from Tony in Alberta, Canada. So thank you, Tony, for your story. Appreciate that. Okay, so now I have some comments from you guys. You guys have had your own experiences. It's really interesting. And these are just comments right off the YouTube channel. And so I'm just going to read them right off my phone here. So this first one is from Nevada Hiker. My friend and his wife had pine cones thrown at them in the Antelope Lake area back in 2018. I asked them if the cones were falling from trees, and they pointed about 60 feet away into the forest and said, no, they're coming from over there. My friend and I were armed, but he didn't want to go see who or what might have been doing it. Wow. And that was in context to the story about the work crew in the RV in the Plumas National Forest. Pretty recent video. This next one comes from the Old Fart. That's his name. And he says, I'm 60 and have been solo hunting and camping in the deep woods since I was 10. Bigfoot is the last thing I'm worried about at this point. There's far stranger things that are out there in the wilderness where nobody goes. Much stranger. Often, it's the place itself that's not right. Follow your gut feeling. I just don't talk about what I see or have seen. I think whatever separates this reality from something else is thinning and increasingly allows passage both directions in certain areas at certain times. Wow. I don't know if he's talking about some kind of a time portals or something, but really interesting comment there. So thank you, Old Fart. Okay, so this is Raging Roadrunner. I, along with these 2 seasoned police officers, had almost the exact same experience on Sleepy Cat Mountain north of Meeker, Colorado in 1981. None of us ever went back there again, and these 2 officers never bow hunted again. I hunted in different areas, but I only went one more time. But I absolutely refused to sleep in a tent in the outback ever again. It was a horrible event. We had not seen each other for over 25 years, but when we did meet, the first thing was, what the heck was that? I had not heard anything close to that sound ever again, but this guy's description fit it perfectly. Wow. I'm not sure exactly what video that was. I kind of lost track, but people hear and experiencing things, and it's not just me telling stories. There's stuff going on out there. This next comment comes from Sharon5784. When I had an experience telling other people, I quickly learned that they don't want to hear it. They asked me what kind of drugs I was on, all the way to, I don't believe that. I quashed my story for years. I was 17 when it happened. I was scared out of my mind. When I hear someone say they were scared out of their mind over something, I feel like they don't really understand what that means. I was so scared my mind was trying to grasp at anything that would make sense. When I couldn't, I really thought I must be going insane. That, friends, is being scared out of your mind. Wow. Thank you, Sharon. Not sure what happened when you were 17, but it scared her out of her mind. Okay, I've been hearing thunder around me, and it's starting to rain just a little bit, so we'll see how far I can get with this. Okay, so this comes from Original 6. Thanks for the video. Just this past weekend, my husband and I were camping on a relative's property near Tionesta, Pennsylvania. In the middle of the night, we were awakened by what sounded like dogs barking at coyotes that were yapping across the woods. It was quite noisy with the sounds of both the dogs and the coyotes, but after a couple minutes, there was a different noise, a howl that was neither dog or coyote, and with that howl, there was complete silence. The dogs quit barking and the coyotes quit barking. It was very odd and spooky. Wow. I've actually heard that before. I heard this howl and then the coyotes responding to the howl. Actually up here in the Plumas National Forest. Pretty wild. Okay, so we have Jezebel. Mount Hood is very spooky. I spent the night in a cabin there. It was all fun and the forest was gorgeous. I remember going up a trail and being mesmerized by how gorgeous it was, and it was so quiet. This feeling of dread came over me, and at this one spot, extreme fear for no reason, I turned around and left. Wow, I've never experienced that, but I'm looking around now. This comes from Midwest Message. P.S. My husband and I saw some tracks in the San Isabel Forest, large single-file tracks in the snow with a large stride, 2 of them side by side coming out from under some trees. The snow was fresh from that morning. It was an active area. Wow, thank you for sending that. This is from Afterburner. My family and I had 2 run-ins with these creatures in the West Branch of the Feather River back in the 1970s. I have never forgotten being escorted out of the area by one. It wasn't hostile, but it made damn sure to let me know I wasn't welcome there. My parents had the same experience 3 weeks later in the exact same spot. That was from Afterburner. Feather River, which is that way. Middle Fork. I got some kind of a strange bird flying around, making some noises up in the trees. Just listen for it in case it comes back. This next one comes from Mary Fonte 6114. Chris, I enjoy listening to the stories. This specific story piqued my interest. I live in South America. There is 2 similar stories by hikers in the Andes. 4 experienced hikers had an encounter with the same description where the unidentifiable being crossed the path they were walking on. It ran away at lightning speed. They captured 5 seconds of the creature as it disappeared in the jungle. A similar encounter happened with a young couple on vacation hiking in the Amazon. Wow. Did you guys hear that bird? There it is. He's checking me out or something. I hope it's a bird. All right, you guys, those are comments from you guys. If you want to see more comments, just go into the comment section and read through them. It's kind of fun. There's a lot of experiences you guys have had that you do these mini stories in the comments section. So it's really interesting to read those. Thank you for watching my channel. And if you guys like stories about the strange, unexplained, and things that go bump in the night, please like and subscribe. You guys always know how to do that. I always appreciate the comments that we just talked about, etc. And thanks again for watching. That's pretty weird. And we'll see you on the next one. I got to get out of here. It's starting to rain on me. I can feel little thin droplets, and it's getting dark. So thanks again. We'll see you next time. Keep hiking.